to the Jewish myths, right? And so you have to own them. Don't try and run away from them.
I'm not running away from them.
So when you claim,
Yes.
as Jews, Christians and Muslims do, that a man stood at the edge of the Red Sea and waved his hand like that, and the seas parted, and walls of water a quarter of a mile high that side.
I don't know how high.
A quarter of a mile.
I don't know how a quarter of a mile.
Well,
You've got amazing detail there.
No, I've looked into it. I've looked into it because the depths of the average depth of the Red Sea is 490 meters, right?
Yes.
Meters, right?
That's a third of a mile.
Which is a third of a mile, which is even worse for you. It's even worse for you, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So a third of a mile high of water that side, and a third of a mile high of water that side, run along for 50 miles. In actual fact, the Red Sea is far wider than that. It's actually 220 miles. But I'm giving you the benefit of
You
that.
know where they cross now.
Okay, well, listen, and that's one of the thinner parts. That's one of the thinner parts of the Red Sea. I'm doing you a favour now. Sorry. I'm doing you a favour. The widest part of the Red Sea. The widest part of the Red Sea is 220 miles. I said no. I don't want to go that hard on it. So I've chopped it right down, not by a quarter, right? So a man waves his hand, right, by mumbling gibberish to an invisible friend. Waves his hand, and a wall of water a third of a mile high that side, and a wall of water a third of a mile high that side, just to stay suspended, breaking every single rule that we know about gravity. That we know about gravity. Water, a sea, right, parts, just so people running away from some Egyptians can let his sacred holy people escape these wicked Egyptians, these pharaohs. Right? Exactly.
That's a consequence of this rather stupid belief system that they have. Islamic science is so pathetically backwards.
Okay. So let's picture that, right? We've got a third of a mile of water on our left-hand side, and a third of a mile of water suspended in midair, right, just and wide enough so there's enough people to run along the sea of the bed, right? So all of these sacred magic people can run away from those wicked evil Egyptians, right? For 50 miles. And I'm saying 50, it could have been longer. I'm saying 50 miles because the Red Sea is actually 220 miles wide.
That's your point, yeah?
Right, okay. So, and you live in a man living in the 21st century in Britain, believe that superstitious tribal nonsense. You actually believe that happened?
I don't believe it's tribal nonsense, but I do.
Well, of course it's tribal nonsense.
You've
Okay,
finished?
I don't know. I haven't finished.
Oh, you haven't finished
Okay,
yet?
I'm going to let you start preaching in a minute because I have to.
That's what you're doing as well at the moment.
I'm not preaching.
course
I'm
you are.
trying to get through.
It's like a sermon.
Oh.
But don't get into details.
Yeah.
Religion is not interested in
Okay.
details.
Okay.
They say Jesus is coming, but don't ask me when. Right?
All right. Okay. So Abbas, right? You also believe
Yes.
that.
Forget the next belief. This is dealing with that one.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Now, why do I believe that? Yes.
Okay.
Right. Now, your yardstick to measure the occurrences of something happening or not happening are purely based on a secular, non-religious system.
No, based on science.
Based on the
Science.
absence of a creator. Right?
Yes, because there's no evidence.
So, based on the absence of a creator, of course, that would all sound very ludicrous.
Yes.
And it would sound like a fairy tale. And it would sound like nonsense. But obviously, my yardstick to measure such occurrences is not based with the absence of a creator. It's with the creator. And that is why it's not absurd.
Can you give us some evidence?
We've had this discussion. We've had this discussion.
My friend just asked you an incredible question there.
I didn't hear him because I'm talking to you.
All right, okay.
We've had this discussion many times. And I told you that through deduction, we can deduce certain things following back through the trail of evidence that we see.
Deduction is a dangerous way to come to conclusion.
But it's a valid way.
Dangerous
But it's
way.
It's recognized
He
to be a
said he
valid way
doesn't believe in
Deduction just do. I could just do.
Let me finish.
No, hold on.
You had a lot of time. So through deduction, the fact that the universe came into existence, I attribute that to cause and effect, i.e. it could not have happened uncaused, therefore there must be a creator.
On what basis are you making it? On what basis? On what basis are you making that statement?
Hold on a second. And then the provability of that first claim is the Quran for me. So when I study the Quran, and those who are neutral, non-Muslims, who have studied the Quran, many of them have later converted to Islam.
Forget about others.
I've read the Quran.
Okay,
yourself.
in English.
So what? Okay, but why print it in English? Why do Muslims print the Quran in English and French and Chinese?
Because you don't speak Arabic, neither do I. That's why.
So what's the point? And I've tackled this with you before.
The point is that people like yourself and like myself, whose mother tongue is not Arabic, at least have the opportunity to read, or get a feeling for, a zest for what the Quran means and what the Quran is.
It's all for your own good.
Listen. He said, now you believe that, and you've agreed before that you don't know what happened before the universe.
No, nobody knows that.
Fair enough.
Nobody knows that.
So
question.
you could deduce that the universe came about by itself.
Okay,
Yes, that's what I
by
believe.
itself.
Listen.
That is what you can argue. That it happened by itself.
Abbas.
But do you believe that? Do you believe that there has to be cause?
My will be eternal. I oscillate.
Do you believe that cause and effect has to happen?
Abbas, your problem is...
If I accept that, then you have to accept that God has to have a cause.
Exactly. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Because
You
God
just say
yes, he
there
does.
has to have a cause.
Yes, he does.
I'm saying to you,
Accepted cause and effect.
everything that is thing is created.
It's got a thing. It's got a thing.
Created by
It's
what?
got a thing.
God is not created.
How do you know?
I can just say that.
How do you know?
I can say that.
Because God says so in the Quran. And I can prove the Quran is divine.
Exactly. He said it in the Quran, so it's true.
Then why don't you provide it? But then, okay, listen. But if you're right,
If he told us that in the first place, we wouldn't be having this argument.
Hold on a second.
It said so in the Quran,
Hold on a second.
so it's true.
Yes, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Do you just want to talk amongst yourselves?
In the end, he's going to say, that's the book.
And you can prove that the book is divine.
That's it.
Abbas.
If the book is not divine, why don't you come up with a conclusion of where the book came from? No,
Abbas.
hold on a second.
It was made up.
If it's not divine, then where did it come from?
Okay, it was
What is
made up.
divine?
From a creator.
Okay.
What
If
is
it
a
did-
creator? Do you know?
Do you not understand what the word creator means? Do I have to explain that to you?
We all
you need
come
a dictionary.
from.
You
We
need a
all
dictionary.
come from.
Let's
Is that
not,
right?
Let's not do semantics.
Okay.
Okay. We're talking about the
what we
creator.
all
You
come
understand the concept of the creator, right?
No.
If it did not come from the creator, where did it come from?
I don't understand.
Come up with a solution.
You weren't there.
Come
I
up with a
wasn't
logical reason of where it's come from then.
Okay.
What?
Abbas,
Can you
Abbas,
do that?
What come
Abbas.
from?
The Quran. Where did it come
Quran.
from?
Came from
But
Muhammad.
somebody must have written it.
Who says so?
Abbas.
Somebody must have written
And
it.
yet those people who study in depth and in detail
Oh, yes.
totally
Those
disagree with you.
people.
Abbas.
The majority
Who
of
wrote
them
it?
totally disagree.
Abbas.
Who actually put
Okay,
pen to paper?
So
can I
you
just-
can't. All you're saying is you don't speak Arabic. You don't read Arabic.
Do you speak Arabic?
Who
Yes.
put pen to paper?
You don't speak
Very
Arabic.
little.
Who wrote
Right?
it
don't
down?
speak
I read
Arabic.
Arabic.
You
I
don't
read
speak
Arabic.
Arabic.
wrote it
Stop
down?
lying.
Assalamu alaikum.
Abbas.
Who wrote it down?
You don't speak
كيف
Arabic.
حالك؟
Who wrote it down?
Abbas, you
كيف
don't speak
حالك؟
Arabic.
كيف حالك؟ كيف حالك؟
Abbas.
كيف
Abbas,
حالك؟
Abbas, you
Who
don't
wrote
speak Arabic.
the Quran down?
In its physical form?
Yes.
Human beings, of course.
Exactly.
Is that your point?
No,
That's
Abbas,
ludicrous.
Abbas.
So
That
it
is
wasn't
so
from
ludicrous.
sky.
That is so ludicrous.
I tell you why God is a terrible hypothesis. Terrible hypothesis. This is, and it's very, very simple. Everything that we know, right? Everything complicated that we know, right? Starts off from very, very simple beginnings. Everything that we know. Every single thing that we've conceived, that we've seen, that we've tested, that we've felt and detected comes from simple beginnings and then gets more complicated. Every single thing, without exception. We've never seen anything.
Do you agree with that?
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
God's, by their very nature, right, a creator, right, gods are extremely complicated.
Okay.
Something extremely complicated that creates universes, that creates galaxies, that creates suns, stars, and planets, and animals, and human beings that go on to create cars and aeroplanes, everything. That entity, by its very nature, is complicated. At the very least, at least as complicated as our mind.
Much more.
Exactly.
Much more intricate.
Exactly. It would have to be to create all of this stuff that we see and detect and feel. Okay. Therefore, right, knowing that the deduction that you should make from that is what created the creator.
Why should I do that?
Because that's the natural inference.
Okay, so there are some possibilities there, aren't there? The creator is self-created. The creator was always there, eternal, right? Or the creator had a creator. And so you can run through those, you can run through the deduction.
Okay.
The only logical one left is the creator is eternal.
Can we run through that?
Let me give you an example. You spoke quite a long time. Let me have 1 minute. Hold on, let me have 1 minute. No. Let me have 1 minute.
I just want 10 seconds, please. Just 10 seconds. There could be thousands of possibilities, but go on.
Okay, name more than 4.
I can't think, more than 4. I can't think of them. I can't think of them. I can't think of them. Just because I can't think of them doesn't mean that other possibilities don't exist.
Say millions. Surely you have to think of more than 4, shouldn't
Let's go through his...
Listen, if you don't want to hear my noise, just step away.
If there's more than 4, millions more than 4.
Right.
No,
I don't know how many options.
Let me just explain something to you. It's not the complexity or the simplicity of the creator that defines whether the creator exists or doesn't exist. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, go on.
There is a simple way of me explaining how my car got into existence.
Yes.
If I didn't know the complexity that it took to create that car, right, the simplest way of explaining it was...
No.
Hold on a second.
It won't work.
Hold on a second.
Human beings made the car.
Hold on a second.
It won't work.
Hold on a second. The glass somehow and all this
No,
stuff somehow got
Abbas,
together.
It won't work.
And it happened by itself.
It won't work, Abbas.
That's a simple
Human
explanation.
beings make cars.
Hold on a second.
Human beings
Hold
make
on a
cars.
second. That's a simple explanation.
Yeah.
The more complex explanation is
Yes.
that the ore had to be dug out of the ground, it had to be smelted, steel had to be produced,
No.
electronics, wiring, circuitry,
No.
glass, all of these.
That's
Hold on a second.
simple.
Hold on.
That's the simple
It's
process.
a very complex process that explains how that car got about.
Yes.
It's not the complexity or the simplicity
Yes, it is.
which defines whether it happened or it didn't happen.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, in your mind it is.
No, it is.
Because-
In a scientific
no,
way.
In your mind.
In a scientific way.
No.
Yes.
Because it's convenient.
No.
Because if
No,
God,
it's scientific.
Because if God is complex,
Okay.
and then by attributing that,
Show me
and
something.
by
Show me
attribute-
something.
By attributing that way of describing it, you then negate God. Because you say, oh, God is complex.
Science. That's
because
what.
it's a complex way of
That
explaining
is
it.
exactly what science does. Now, show me something. Give me an example of something that is extremely complicated. That starts off extremely complicated, just appears extremely complicated, right? And then goes.
Or in eternal, or always existed.
Yeah.
God.
No. Listen.
And everything else
Listen. God is just a concept made up by primitive, mainly. As far as,
So how does this universe come in?
we don't know, Abbas. We do not know. No scientist.
What are the possible ways?
No. Okay.
What are the possible ways?
Abbas, this is discussion that we can have.
What's the
Right?
possible ways?
And this is where your intelligence kicks in.
What are the possibilities?
Okay. Well, this is where. And that's a fair question, Abbas. Those are great questions. That's a fair question, right? But let me just say something to you. No scientist.
What's the possibilities?
No scientist. No scholar. Right? No religious
What other possibilities?
so-called middleman. Right? No.
What other possibilities? This universe came about by itself.
There are the classic 3 or 4.
Which are?
That's eternal.
Which is disproved
Right.
by
But
science.
it hasn't been disproved by anybody, Abbas,
Lawrence
because
Krauss.
nobody knows.
Lawrence Krauss.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Lawrence Krauss.
He doesn't.
Hawkins.
Listen.
Maldanov.
Listen.
Sir Roger Penrose. These are all
Listen.
renowned
Listen.
physicists.
Listen.
They don't accept that the
Listen.
universe is eternal.
Listen. What they postulate.
You can't say that.
What they postulate.
So you know better now.
No.
That's wrong. That's wrong. Listen, that's wrong.
Listen. What they postulate is that what we observed in a certain point of time, about 14 billion years ago. About 14 billion years ago, right? What we observed as our universe and the wider galaxies, right? There was a starting point that led to the physical universe to what we observe. We don't know whether there is more nature out there.
Lawrence Krauss is a renowned physicist and mathematician, right?
Exactly.
He's written more than 300 books on physics, mathematics.
Right.
Now, he says that it is, as far as he's concerned,
right.
I don't know the truth of that statement because I'm not a scientist, but he says it's an empirical, analytical, observable evidence as far as physics is now concerned and mathematics is concerned that at one point t equals 0 there was nothing.
Listen.
There was a vacuum or an absence of anything. That's what he argues.
Listen, I don't care.
I'm just saying
I love Lawrence Krauss. I think he's great. I think Lawrence Krauss is amazing. I don't care what he says on this issue. I don't care what he says on this issue. Right?
You can't do that.
No.
You can't do
because,
that.
No, we don't work by authority, right?
Of course we do.
No, we don't.
Of course we do.
No, we don't.
Look, if I'm going to talk about brain surgery,
listen.
I'm going to go to the most renowned brain surgeon and ask him about his opinion.
Exactly.
If I'm going to talk about mathematics or science or physics, I'm going to go to the person who's the most renowned in that subject, right? You're wanting me to believe Esa's view.
No.
Physics.
What I want you to accept, right? And Lawrence Krauss states this as well.
Yes.
Right? There's a point in nature that we just don't know
but I accept
what
that. He does say that.
We don't know.
He does say that.
Now we can infer all sorts. We can come to all sorts of explanations and deductions and inferences, right? On that basis and probabilities on that basis.
Would you therefore accept that anything that we discuss before t equals 0 is going to be faith-based at the moment, anyway?
No.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be empirical.
No, I wouldn't use that term at all. Agnosticism.
Yes.
I would use agnosticism. I would use ignorance.
Yes.
I would use the word don't know.
My question is simple. Anything that we attribute before t equals 0, therefore, it's just going to be an opinion. It's not going to be empirical.
No.
Because we don't know.
Okay.
Right. So we can only come to an issue in terms of what it might have been through deduction of what the possibilities are.
Okay.
And one of the possibilities, you'd have to accept this. He said, you might not like what the Quran says. You might not like the way some Muslims behave. You might not like this. Listen.
No, because most Muslims are good people. No, most Muslims are good. 99.9% of Muslims are good people. That's not the issue.
Now,
right?
What you have to accept, therefore, because you don't know, is that one of the possibilities has to be some form of a creator.
Okay.
You have to accept that as a valid possibility, right?
Okay.
Where are you going, Esa?
No. It's just.
Where you get him go back?
Okay.
You want me to talk?
It's like a tag team going on here.
No.
Did he just tag you like that? Did he just tag you? I'm just joking.
Abbas, no, because you're the only one that can articulate the way that you do.
The thing is, you said where all this come from, and I said that's a fair question, right? Because probably millions of people ask that question, right? And I myself, standing in front of you, don't know. Everybody hears this, yeah?
And he's kind of pushed his
What do you say?
I think there are some valid possibilities of what could have happened.
The first one.
The first one is that there is an argument that people place that the universe came into being by itself, self-perpetuated.
How do
So
you understand
from a vacuum of absolute nothingness.
Have you seen anything coming from nowhere?
No, I can't accept that. I can't
It
accept
doesn't
that.
make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, but it does make sense to a lot of people who don't
Yeah,
believe
but
in
we are
God.
talking to you and you're talking
So to me, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, to me either.
The other possibility is that it didn't happen from a vacuum of nothingness without anything creating it or doing it. In other words, causing it to happen. It was in fact caused by something far more powerful and sophisticated
don't know
and
that.
complex
But
than
you
the
don't know
universe.
that.
Well, that's a possibility though, right? Now, hold on a second.
hold on.
Now, for me,
The possibility
for me,
is it comes from somewhere.
So with all due
we
respect,
don't
so
know.
with all due respect, we can go one step further back if you want to, but at the moment we're still on this step here.
There is no sense here. Forgive me.
No, there is.
Forgive me.
If t equals 0, sir, if t
I don't understand T or
Okay,
0.
time.
Okay? I'm just saying we go back as far as you like. Yeah?
What I'm-
No steps.
Sir.
Just right back beginning.
So, with all due respect, when we talk about time,
Yes.
Lawrence Krauss would say that when the universe comes, so I have to explain to you how the concept of time.
No, we are simple human beings.
So time, okay, but time is dependent upon what realm you're talking about. So, for example, if you're
We
talking
are not
about
talking about any realm.
Well,
We are talking about right beginning.
Sir, exactly.
Do you understand? Okay.
Look,
we
the
have
beginning as we are, sir.
So forgive me. So we don't even understand what is the beginning.
No, what I'm trying to explain to you is when you're referring to time.
Beginning.
Sir,
No, we are not here.
when you're referring to time, there is no beginning, is there?
Look, I am talking
there?
about right the beginning.
What? There is no beginning.
Oh,
Time
so
is,
there is no
time,
beginning.
time is not fluid, is it? Time is not something that you can say, right,
Ah, so you don't believe it.
but Lawrence Krauss doesn't say that, by the way. What Lawrence Krauss says is that the time when the universe comes into existence, he argues that that's t equals 0, time equals 0. And he says before time equals 0, before t equals 0,
Time
he
started.
says no, there is no time. He says there's no time, there's no space, there's no matter, there's no energy,
So that's
there's nothing.
Big Bang then. So that's Big
No,
Bang.
that's not Big Bang. That's
Because Big Bang,
So
they say when
we're
there is no
talking-
movement,
we're talking about-
there is no time.
so we're talking
Which
about,
makes sense.
okay, what, that's, okay, but that makes sense to you, does it?
But if
So-
there is no movement,
So before the Big Bang,
yes.
you don't think there's any concept of time before that?
No, because nothing is when nothing. You know the time. You know how they measure the time when something moving. When there's nothing moving, there's no time.
Yeah, that's right.
So what you're saying is that there is no history before the universe coming into being.
Yes,
That's
basically.
what you're saying.
And that's what you said as well.
I'm saying
You said
that's what
beginning
Lawrence
of the
Krauss
time.
is. I'm helping you out.
Okay. But Abbas, this is my problem with you. Okay, there's a couple of points. Now, you're clearly an intelligent, articulate, actually quite, and you're quite charismatic, actually.
And I'm friendly.
And there's no doubt, family, no doubt, right? But okay, but I think you're allowing your emotions to get the better because you are because let's break it down. You've postulated three or four possibilities in terms of the possible creation of the world, and you chose the most unlikely, unreasonable version.
Not really, no.
You have.
Well,
you chose something even more complicated than the universe itself.
Okay, but listen. If you're going to tell me
Yeah.
I should accept
Yes.
that the universe comes from a vacuum of absolute nothingness, that the laws of physics, the gravity, cosmological constant, the neutrons, the protons, all of those laws simultaneously came into being, which they would have to, within a trillionth of a second, right? No, listen. And then, more stars in the universe than grains of sand on the earth, on every beach, right? All came into being, all functioning orderly within their laws of physics, etc., right? And all of that happened from nothing.
Abbas.
That to me is not logical.
Abbas.
To me, it's more logical. To me, it's more logical. To me, it's more logical. Of course.
Let's just wind it back again. Right? You're making some incredible sort of statements there. number one, we don't know all the constants out there. We don't know all. There's all sorts of galaxies out there. We don't know the composition and the makeup of the forces that dictate those that pull.
We do now.
No, we don't.
We do.
No, we don't.
Well, we have some.
We don't.
We have some laws.
There could be variations. There could be variations in how gravity works. And for instance, just in our small space here, if you go up into the stratosphere, gravity works in a completely different way.
Well, the way they measure gravity is that there is a precise measure of gravity.
Well, I'm talking about gravity
related to mass.
In relation to mass.
So proportion to mass, you calculate what the force of gravity is.
No.
And it goes to many hundreds of decimal places.
I'm talking about when you take mass, into certain environments around us, right? They act in different ways.
Yeah,
for instance,
according to their mass.
Right. Exactly. So we don't know. We don't know all the combinations, all the compositions.
But that doesn't take my argument.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
How does the universe come into being?
Okay. Let me just say this again. No scientist.
What's the possibilities?
No scientist. No philosopher.
What are the possibilities?
No scholar.
What are the possibilities?
And certainly no religious.
What are the variables? What are the possibilities?
No religious intermediary knows how the universe came into
What are the
being.
possibilities?
The possibilities
Happened by itself, or it was made to happen, right? You believe that it happened by itself. I can't accept that.
Listen. I'm going to go for this. The explanation, right? Contingent on what the experts say at this point in time,
That it happened by itself.
because we don't know what experts are going to say in 100 years' time.
What if they say there's a God? You can accept that?
Well, listen, if they've got verifiable, testable, empirical proof that some sort of creative entity...
But you don't have
right?
that the universe came into being by itself, but you still accept that, don't you?
Well, listen, I accept it as a possibility. It's I don't know. I don't know. You're right, there could be a God.
Esa.
No.
Esa, what are you saying to me?
No,
this is blasphemy.
No, it's not.
Did you hear him?
No.
Did everyone hear him?
There absolutely could be a God. There could
You
be
might
a
get
God.
lynched by your
No,
friends.
no.
I heard it.
No.
It's a good thing he said it on his own.
No. As atheists, right, what we reject, atheism just rejects one question. We reject theism. I'm also an atheist. I reject theories. Right? I'm an atheist. I'm also an Santa Clausist because I reject Santa Claus.
I am as well.
Exactly. So, atheism is just a responsive question, a reaction to one claim by theists. We say we're atheists because we don't believe any sort of theism. Right? Now, there could be some sort of creative entity, that had a mind, right? But you would have to show empirically, not through philosophy or logic word games, or some sort of verbal philosophical obfuscation. You would have to show scientifically, empirically, right, testably, that this entity existed. Right? Then we would have. It wouldn't be a choice.
You say that, right?
Yes.
Now, when I look at, and I urge you to do that as well.
Yes.
If you go on YouTube, there's a man called Noman Ali Khan, right? He goes into one of the things that I was discussing with you about the grammatical structure and miracle of the. Now, hold on a second. Before you sort of get all despondent and upset on me and stuff,
You're going to start going into the
just listen to what I'm saying, right? Now, if you have something that is so profound that you don't have your answers for in terms of where it could have come from, other than this possibility of this creator, then at the very least, what you should do is study it in depth and come to a conclusion upon it, rather than base your opinion on the fact that you've got a predisposition to already disprove God, disprove Scripture, and then deny it on that premise. When you do your investigation, Esa, what you find is that people, and I gave you a copy of that book that you can download, right? It's quite a heavy read. But the other one that's a lot easier is the Maurice Bukai. I don't know if you've read that one. That's a much easier read. And it's just comparing science, which you love and I love, right? Bible and the Quran. And it compares the three. And this is a study done by a scientist who wasn't Muslim. In fact, he was Christian, right?
But he's a Muslim now.
But he converted later, yes, because upon his findings. Because knowledge is very important, you see. Until you get the knowledge, you're not able to judge what the Quran is because you've got a predisposition to deny it on the basis that you don't accept it as a God.
Now, Abbas, unfortunately for you,
I think we laid down the safer. It's too good.
Abbas, unfortunately.
It's good reflexes.
Unfortunately, that was you had the power of God.
Listen, I'm not a Christian.
No.
I'm not a Christian. You're talking to the wrong person here, man.
We know that your God does magic, so Abbas.
It's not called magic. It's called miracles.
No.
Your eyes are a miracle of God. Your heart, your lungs, your kidney function, everything is a miracle, a miraculous thing.
Unfortunately, I'll tell you why.
But you believe that it came from dirt,
No,
and it happened by itself.
No, Abbas.
And you believe it happened by itself.
Abbas.
From a primeval soup.
Abbas.
Like your eyes and your lungs and your proportions.
Exactly.
And your strength.
No
your
doubt,
physique,
no doubt.
all came from a primeval soup.
No doubt.
And where did that life come from, the primeval soup?
Well, again, Abbas,
We don't know.
because science is so honest.
We
Because
don't know.
science is so honest, and we refuse to make up stories. We say we don't know.
But what we
right?
should do is this.
Right.
What we should do is this, because you argued that the simplest things turn into complex things.
Yes, every
Therefore,
time, every single time.
Therefore, simple biological life
Yes.
must be very simple.
Yes.
By now, we should be able to reproduce it in the test tube, because we
One-
know.
one
Because
day
we
we
know.
might be
Because
able
we
to,
know
yeah.
when we did try the 50s, and you.
We're still trying.
And you
still trying.
on the space station now.
Well, we are.
I asked three PhD graduates, and they said those experiments, biologists, right?
Yes.
They don't do those experiments
Yes, they do.
because in the
Behind
50s,
Of course they do.
I'll tell you why they don't.
They do.
Listen to me. I'll tell you why they don't.
They do.
Because they realise that the complexity of that biological cell is so complex. To simply chuck some chemicals into a test tube and shake it around, it ain't gonna do it. It doesn't do it.
Listen,
You don't get biological life.
Abbas.
That's where you have to turn to God. Turn to
Abbas.
God.
No.
I'm sounding like a Christian now. Turn to God. Save yourself. Save yourself.
Abbas. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Right? I'll tell you why it works. Because I've read the Quran. It's not a good book. It's not a good book. It's a terrible book, and it's not the sort of book that you should be organising your life around. In fact, you don't organise your
I
life.
do. Of course I do.
You don't.
Of course I do.
You don't. You live like a secular liberal
Not at
in
all.
the West. Of
Not
course
at
you
all. I don't. I don't drink, and I have girlfriends.
Neither do I.
I would have
You haven't
loved
got a
to.
girlfriend?
No, I would have loved to have.
You haven't got a girlfriend?
I've never had a girlfriend in my life. Because of my religion, because my religion forbids it. But I would have loved to have done it. My
Have you got a wife?
yeah, I had a wife. I haven't got a wife now, but I've never had a girlfriend in my life. Never drunk alcohol in my life.
Oh my
Never
God.
taken drugs in my life.
Neither do I. I don't take.
No, he might not. If he says he has it, he has it.
Listen.
Right? Listen. I have. What can I? What I'm trying to say to you is that those morals I get from the Quranic teachings and from the teachings.
You don't get them from the
Listen,
Quran.
trust me, bro.
Listen.
Am I a bad looking guy? Am I that bad looking?
Listen.
Do you think I could have got? Do you think I could have gone around a bit?
Abbas, like I said to you before, right? 99.9% of Muslims are good people, right? 99%. Most people, do you know why they're good people? Because most human beings are good people. Most human beings. That's why we're a successful species.
Let me engage with you honestly, right? You might not accept the Quran. You might not accept the existence.
It's a terrible
No,
book.
you might not. Right? Listen. But when we learn the teachings of Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the masjid, the mosque, listen to me. Look, I'm being honest and open with you here. I'm being absolutely honest and open with you here, right? When we learn the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the sayings of the Prophet, the things that he encourages to do, it not only brings tears to our eyes, but shakes our hearts. But we aspire to become like him. Peace be upon him. No, listen to me.
I hope you don't.
No, listen to me.
I hope not.
Listen to me, right? So when we learn about the compassion, the caring, the love, the tranquility, the decency, the integrity.
You're killing me. Listen.
Look, you can wave your arms around.
Do I have to get the Quran out?
Listen to me.
Do I have to get it out?
He said,
I've got it on my phone.
He said, look, we have to be sensible. Right? At the time when the Quran was revealed and Muhammad professed to be a prophet of Allah, peace be upon him, right? The Arabs at that time, historically, is widely known that they were the most savage people on the face of this earth. In fact, the Jews looked at them and said there are no more savage people on this earth as the people of the Middle East.
And God sent his prophet amongst the
Hold on a second. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. No. Let me make my point. They were the most savage. They used to bury their daughters alive. That was one of the traditions that they did in Arabia at that time. And when the Quran comes into being,
the Sufi Muslims are actually more spiritual.
But let me make my point, please.
Yeah,
when the Quran comes into being and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, professes prophethood, right? That nation is transformed from a nation that was savage to the highest of eloquence, decency, and moral code.
It's not.
That is a historical fact. That is a historical fact you can't deny. And many historians,
listen, when you read the Quran,
non-Muslim historians,
when you read the Quran,
have given testimony to that.
Unfortunately for Muslims, right, you are
You have to look at the history.
not the arbiter or the interpreter or the final translator of the Quran. You're just not.
What's that got to do with what I've just said?
Because you're just espousing your opinion.
Did it not, or did
You're
it,
just espousing your opinion.
Did it or did it not transform a savage nation to a nation that observed many moral codes that they did not?
So what did it do? No, it didn't.
So what did it? That's a lie then. You're now lying about history.
It's history.
It's historical facts.
Historical facts.
This is a historical fact.
Abbas, the book is a
Forget the book.
vicious.
Forget the book.
The book is a
I'm
vicious
talking about
diatribe.
Arabia at that time.
Can you
They
concentrate on
the Renaissance. The Renaissance that occurred in Western Europe. Would that have occurred without Islam? No, it wouldn't have done.
Listen.
This is nonsense what you're saying.
I'm not denying
evidence that I put forward as make-believe.
Listen, I'm not denying
nonsense.
that part of the world have made its contribution to science.
Huge contribution.
No.
Of course it did.
No.
If we didn't have
It made its contribution.
you know that phone
like
you
the
hold in your hand?
Chinese.
If there wasn't algorithms, you wouldn't have that phone working in your hand. Where did that come from?
Eventually.
I've asked you this is actually one of the very first questions. This is one of the very first questions I asked you months ago. Why didn't God tell Muhammad about it?
Can you answer the question that I've just given?
What kind of question is
It's a
that?
nonsense question. I've answered that.
No, it's not.
It's a nonsense.
No, it's not. Because
a nonsense.
we could operate in this society without electricity.
Why? We did quite well.
No.
Of course we did. Of course we did.
So how did people die?
Why didn't God
It's only the Industrial Revolution.
Why didn't God tell Arabs and Muslims in the Middle East, right, and give them the knowledge by zapping them with all this information?
Why didn't he give it to Adam?
Hold on a second.
Hold on, why didn't he give it to Adam?
Hold on a second.
Adam, hold on. I just want to tell this guy.
No, come on, that's a question like that.
I just want to tell this
Why
guy
didn't he
something
give
very
it to
quickly.
Moses? Come on.
Adam is a cartoon character. He never existed.
I know where he's going with this. Right?
He never
Okay,
existed.
hold
He's
on
a cartoon
second.
character.
All right, hold on a second.
Right.
So
Anyway.
because God did not,
No, man, Mickey Mouse is a cartoon character.
Because God did
Know
not,
what
because
cartoon
God
is.
did not give Muhammad how to conduct, how to
Yes,
create
yeah.
electricity.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's a false prophet.
Okay. Why?
Hold on.
Yes.
Well, that's fine. That's your opinion then. Well, let's leave it at that. Let's agree to disagree.
No.
I don't think that's a sensible way of looking at it.
Listen. Why didn't he tell Muhammad it was wrong to keep slaves? Why didn't he tell him?
Why don't you wear the hat straight?
Why didn't he tell him to?
Why don't you wear the hat straight?
Slaves.
Just asking that.
Taking somebody against their will, taking a free person against their will, and controlling.
That's forbidden in Islam.
Civilized, I suppose.
That's forbidden, mate.
You're going to give him a Connery.
Muhammad, he freed slaves. He freed slaves.
A free person.
Listen, Muslims and Islam specialized in slavery. That was one of their specialities.
No, mate.
Yes.
No, mate. You
Listen,
don't know.
listen to me.
You
Yes,
don't
I
know
do
history.
know.
Read history.
No.
The first person that
Listen,
came and abolished
Muslims.
was Muhammad.
believe in Adam.
Listen.
Read history and you believe in Adam.
He believes in Adam. And he's talking about history.
How do you know he didn't exist?
Do you believe in dinosaurs? Do you believe in dinosaurs?
And
Do you believe dinosaurs exist?
no, so you believe
Come on, man.
So you don't believe you don't believe Adam existed?
No, so you believe in a talking snake?
Okay, hold on.
Do you believe in a talking snake?
You don't believe Adam existed?
No,
Why
we don't
not?
believe in that.
Christians, because there is no proof for
Do you believe?
Do you
We
believe
don't
in your
believe that.
great
Yes, you do.
grandmother?
No, we don't.
Yes,
No, we
but
don't.
listen,
Can you prove that she existed?
Tell me another version
Can you prove
of
that she
Adam
existed?
in the Old
How?
Testament. Tell me another version of Adam in the Old Testament.
the cemetery of my village.
What would it matter to you anyway?
Let's go back
You don't
100
believe it.
generations.
Tell me another version of Adam in the Old Testament.
Let's go back 100 generations.
Go and read about it and you find out.
I know, I've read it back to front. I've read it back to front. Tell me another version of Adam without the talking snake.
Just speak to me. Just speak to me. Just speak to me.
Go and educate yourself.
Speak to me.
Go and get an education. Idiots. Anyway, listen.
So you think? Hold on a second. Let me go back. Let's backtrack.
Yes.
Because God did not tell Muhammad, peace be upon him, how to make electricity.
Yes. Not just that.
Hold on.
Not just that.
He's a false prophet.
Oh,
because-
absolutely.
We'll have to disagree.
Absolutely. Also, he didn't tell Muhammad that it was wrong to keep slaves. He didn't tell.
I asked you what your definition of slavery is.
Yes.
You said to capture a free man
Yes. Or woman.
and
Yes.
enslave that person.
Exactly.
Okay, let me give you the Islamic Sharia ruling on slavery.
Yeah. Who cares?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, okay. Go on. Yeah.
Well, you should care because you made a very important comment.
I can look to your book.
Hold on a second.
And clearly says that you keep slaves.
You don't even have a book.
Hold on a second.
Why are you going?
Brother, please.
Listen,
Hold on a second.
I've
Please,
got the
brother.
Quran. I've read the Quran.
Have you read the Bible?
Brother.
I've read the Bible back and front.
What are you?
Are you Christian? Listen.
Okay, listen.
I don't
You're
have
Shaitan.
I don't have any invisible friends.
Okay, listen. Okay.
None.
So going back to your assertion.
Where did it come
Hold on a second, brother, please. Right, going back to your assertion. Now we've forgotten what I was speaking about now. This guy's got. You keep buying in, man. I don't even know what I'm saying now. I mean, it knocks my truck.
I said, where does it come from?
Bloody hell.
He must have come from somewhere.
So because
He was invisible before, isn't
So
it?
hold on a second. So you're
My friend, if you're going to ask a silly question like that, tell me how big the
throwing my
universe is.
thought pattern. Okay.
Go and educate. Go and
No,
educate.
tell me how big the universe is. If you're going to ask silly questions like that, tell me how big the universe
You
is.
need to go and get educated. Go to college
I am.
and go and learn some science.
I do learn
Adam and
science.
Eve.
I do learn
Adam and
science.
Eve.
Yeah.
So my
It wasn't Adam and Steve.
my argument.
No, we all know that. Nobody's saying
The talking snake. The talking snake.
Brother,
talking
please.
Adam and Steve, my friend.
We're
not on that.
Esa, what were we talking about, man? There's all these people
I'm
jumping
not going to
in.
help you.
Oh, bloody hell. Right, okay.
Yeah, you said. No, I said slavery.
His name is
Okay,
not even
slavery. Okay, whoa. Okay.
Isa. I bet his name is not even Isa.
There is a saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when he's stepping onto the mimbar, which is the steps where he gives a speech during the sermon on Friday. He said Ameen 3 times. And the people asked him afterwards, why did you say Ameen, Ameen, Ameen 3 times? He said, Gabriel came to me and he said to me, Gabriel, Angel Gabriel, listen to me. It's about slavery.
Abbas,
Can you just give me 30 seconds? Do I interrupt you? I don't. Just give me 30 seconds, right? And Gabriel says that if your parents, 1 or 2, attain old age, and you do not serve them and attain paradise, woe unto you. So the Prophet says, Ameen. Then Angel Gabriel says, if you attain the month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, and through its blessing of fasting and virtue and doing good deeds, you don't attain paradise, woe unto you. And he says, Ameen. And he says, those people who entrap a free man and enslave him and consume his profit, consume the profit, woe unto those people. In other words, these things are what you talk about in terms of slavery, capturing a free man and enslaving that man and consuming the profit of that man. The Prophet said, me and Allah will be at war with this individual.
Complete nonsense.
It's not allowed.
Complete nonsense.
Nonsense to you.
Nonsense.
Everything is nonsense
It's a lie.
to you.
It's a nonsense.
You don't want to listen to
Slavery that you're
sense.
talking about.
Listen,
Hold on.
listen,
The
listen.
slavery that you're talking about.
Abbas,
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
I'm going to need
You're
to talk,
talking
Abbas. I need to
prisoners
talk.
of war. You're talking about prisoners of
This is
war.
even worse. No, it's
So
not.
when you go into a territory and you basically and you're being fought against,
Exactly.
and then the prisoners are prisoners of war.
Yeah.
You can then trade them for your prisoners.
Yeah, that's
or they can
Abbas.
be enslaved.
Abbas, you know,
Now, another thing is,
Abbas, you know that's bullshit.
Another thing is,
Abbas, you know that's
another
bullshit.
thing is voluntary slavery.
Oh,
For
God.
example,
Abbas, you're just digging. You're digging yourself.
So in
You're digging yourself in.
hold on a second.
Abbas, you're digging yourself in.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. So someone who is destitute, can't eat, cannot drink, has nothing, can come into a contract with you that I will become your slave for 10 years. I will work for you, and then after 10 years you must release me. That is a contractual issue. You can do that in Islam as well.
Abbas, okay.
But he doesn't.
Abbas,
What you can't do after. What you can't do after. Hold on a second. Hold on. What you can't do is you can't enslave somebody.
Abbas.
What's in their brain?
Let's bring it back down to reality. Number, I just want to make. I just want to. I just want to set some parameters. No.
Why are you getting so?
Listen, Abbas. Let's set some parameters. As reasonable and as articulate as you are, right, and as fluid as you are in apologising for Islam, right?
You're not apologising at all.
You are.
And there's nothing to
You're an
apologise
apologist.
for. Not at all.
You are a polemicist.
That's your opinion.
You are a polemicist.
You're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong.
Abbas. Your polemics.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Abbas, your polemics are just not good enough. Wow. Listen. I'll tell you what. You are just one of maybe 1.3 million Muslims.
1.6 billion.
No, sorry, billion. 1.3.
Big difference in number.
1.3.
Between 1.3 and 1.6.
Well,
Round up, 1.5.
okay,
No problem.
I'll give you that, 1.5. Right? Now, unfortunately,
And growing fast, by the way.
No.
Even in Europe. Amongst your community. And it's growing faster in your community, the Afro-Caribbean community.
What I'm interested in is how could
It's
Islam
growing
be the,
faster in your community than any other community.
how could Islam don't put it on me!
Why are you worried about camera?
Don't put it on me!
Why are you worried about camera?
And I'm asking you, don't put it
But
on
then
me!
stand behind that
Anyway,
tent then if you don't want to be filmed.
the point of the matter is,
Yes.
if Islam is the fastest growing,
Yes.
you find a lot of Muslims
Yes.
blowing themselves up. And you
Yes.
think there would be a decrease
Yes.
by the amount of people who are blowing, not being killed.
Out of 1.6 billion,
blowing themselves
out
up.
of 1.6 billion, how many blow
So
themselves
how
up?
can they be the fastest growing?
Out of 1.6 billion, how many are blowing themselves up?
How could it be growing?
Answer my
if
question.
they're blowing themselves.
Answer my question.
Okay, but listen.
You know it's a silly question.
I know. Well, let's just.
No, that's a silly one. You're making it too easy for me. Don't make it that easy for me. At least with him there's a debate.
Listen.
But you're making it so easy for me.
Listen.
That's a silly
Listen,
question.
that's not. I